And I'm telling the brothers, as you start to do studies, you're going to run into information that's going to have you up all night because you wasn't looking for that at the time, but now you can't go to sleep because you're on a rabbit hole. And that's what happens all the time. I tell these brothers, just keep your notebook and start writing down, just start collecting notes. And you'll be doing a study on baptism, and you'll run into some scriptures on the Holy Spirit. And you'll be like, oh, I've been looking for this. And now you're going to be on that Holy Spirit topic, and that's just how the Most High works. So everyone's scoffing us and saying that we don't know what we're saying. We don't know. We're making up some Lashon Kadash. I shared with you all last week that my brother, I love him dearly. I'm always going to love him. Reshare. But he is a doctor of seminary, and he's taking a college course right now, supposedly learning Hebrew. And the Hebrew he's learning is Greek, Greco-Yiddish Hebrew. And Gina's my witness. I know she's a bad witness, but she and my uncle, my aunt was right there with us. I taught him 4 Hebrew words in less than 10 minutes. And I showed him that Aleph Bet Gimel system don't make sense because you don't hear no Aleph Bet Gimel Hebrew words. I said, what's the word for Abba or father? He says, Abba. I said, did you hear Aleph? He said, no. I said, you see how that system makes no sense? So yesterday, just doing a light study, I came across some information. I'm like, wow. Shamaria, can you get ready for us 1 Peter chapter 5? 1 Peter chapter 5. So this is good old Wikipedia, family. So this ain't no deep scholarship. Just like
I would have got it. 1 Peter what again? 1 Peter what?
1 Peter 5. I'll turn it back over to Mario.
Yeah. I'm gonna just be quiet. Another precept right there. Man.
So we got everyone scoffing us, saying we don't know what we're speaking. We done made up something, some Lashon Kadash. These black Israelites done made this up. They don't know what they're saying. And you got people paying college tuition, trying to learn what they think is Hebrew, and they don't know what names they're calling on. They can't show you the Father's name in the Bible. They don't know what demons you're calling on, because Yahweh and Yahweh are 2 different people. And I heard one of these doctor seminaries this week say, Yahweh is Christ. I'm going to show it to you. And you know me, I'm objective. Say, hey, if we're wrong, we're wrong. And the brother took us to the scriptures that say Yahweh is Christ. I'm like, oh my goodness. These seminary people have no idea what they're teaching and the abomination they're spreading.
It's so crazy. He might be right in the sense of stating, you know what I'm trying to say?
It may be confusing to the babes, but yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So back to this language that we're learning. We just learned Pasal today. Pasal is an idol, something you have carved out or traced to be your shepherd. Pasal, it's an idol. And y'all notice we only put an A after those letters, P-A-S-A, and then we had an L to end. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, it could be Pasala when we hear the ancients. We could have that other A after that L. I'm not sure. I say Pasal because it's easier when you put that word into a sentence. It's easier to say Pasal. La'atha Pasal. La'atha don't have idols. Pasal. La'atha Pasal. But it could be La'atha Pasala. We won't know until we hear the ancients. But the point is, the only other characters for those consonants are the short A. Here's good old Wikipedia. Can you read this?
Yeah. The Mandaean alphabet is thought to have evolved between the 2nd and 7th century CE from either a cursive form of Aramaic, as did Syriac, or from the Parthian chancery script,
So this Mandaic alphabet, somehow it evolved during the second and 7th century of the Common Era, or AD, the Roman times. And the root of it is coming from a cursive form of Aramaic. Now, they're not going to tell you this, but all Aramaic is another dialect of Hebrew. Aram is one of Shem's sons. So Aramaic is what northern Israel spoke, because that's where Aram, if you got an old map right there, Aram is one, he's a Shema. He's a Shemitic person. Aram is a descendant of Shem. So Aram is speaking a Shemitic tongue. It's very close to Hebrew. So this Mandaic alphabet, they're saying that it seems like it's coming from a cursive form of Aramaic, which is a Shemitic language, right? Read on.
Can you slide the screen over a little bit?
Come.
The exact roots of the script are difficult to determine. It was developed by members of the Mandean faith of southern Mesopotamia to write the Mandaic language for literature purposes.
It was developed by members of the Mandean faith of southern Mesopotamia to write the Mandaic language for liturgical purposes. What does that pagan word liturgical means?
Reading, like literature, like that's what I would have thought.
For church, for religious writings. So this Mandaic alphabet seems to be developed in Mesopotamia. Anybody knows what one of their names Mesopotamia goes by? Babylon. That area has changed names according to the ages. But when you Google the old maps, Mesopotamia, Ur of the Chaldees, Babylon, it's the same area. So read that last sentence again. It was developed.
It was developed by members of the Mandean faith of southern Mesopotamia, or Babylon, to write the Mandaic language for liturgical purposes. Classical Mandaic and its descendant New Mandaic and are still in limited use.
So somewhere over in Iraq and Iran, some people are still using a very close form of this Mandaic language / alphabet. Let's get some more. I want to make this so big.
I saw it.
You saw it?
Oh yeah.
The boy sharp. Don't get nothing past this, brother. Let's continue on here.
The Mandaic name for the script is Abagada or Abagad.
The name for this script is Abagada or Abagad. Why did they call this script this Abagada? Oh, keep reading. Okay.
After the first letters of the alphabet.
They called this Mandaic language or alphabet Abagada after the first letters of the alphabet that they found in Babylon.
What alphabet?
What alphabet? Just like when they taught us in their schools, A is for apple, B is for boy. You gave me the name of that letter by the sounds it made. You didn't say this is Aleph, this is boy. You gave me the sound that letter made so I could put these sounds together and speak your language. So this is another confirmation. In Mesopotamia, in Babylon, they had a language where it was Abagada. Now this Arab turned our language, he said, he gave it a new name. He says that the Hebrew language is an Abjad. And he says Abjad because those are the first letters of the Arabic language, but the Arabic is just like us. We don't have vowels. There's no A, E, I, O, U. It's just consonants with these short A sounds after it. So this language called Mandaic developed somewhere in Mesopotamia, aka Ur of the Chaldees. Who else famous for us come from Ur of the Chaldees?
Abraham.
Our grandfather Abraham. So this language is called Abagad or Abagada. Read on.
rather than the traditional Semitic letter names, Aleph, Beth, Gimel, they are known as A, Ba, Ga, and so on.
Can you read that again? I want to make this so much bigger because you got people, because I haven't been to university. I haven't been to university. They tell you, y'all go to YouTube University, you can't believe everything you see on YouTube, but you can believe everything in Greek universities. So here's this, and you go, this is Wikipedia. It's not the most credible source, because, but it got the source on here where he's getting this from. So let me calm down. People who haven't been scorned and scoffed at, they don't understand why we get so excited. But you got these Christian apologists on their channel scoffing us. Y'all don't know what y'all talking about some Lashawar Kadash. But you let these little non-melanated white scholars say something and it's golden. You're still under the Willie Lynch syndrome. So let's read that again. Rather than
the read mode, you want to make it bigger.
Oh, that's why the Most High sits them out flat. So give me that A flat. So I give me that A flat. So I give me that A flat. Then, brother, I'm telling you, man, you know me and Gina O, can't keep up with this stuff. So where do we stop at,
Right there, that second paragraph.
So let's start it over now. We got this read mode here.
The Mandaic name for the script is Abagada or Abaga, after the first letters of the alphabet, rather than the traditional Semitic letter names, Aleph, Beth, Gimel. They are known as Abaga, Da, Ha, Wa, Za,
Ka.
and so on.
Letters don't have names, family. Letters are the smallest fraction of speech. So if we use Aleph, Bet, Gimel, but we find words in the Bible like call upon Abba, it didn't say call upon Abba, buff.
Right.
It said don't call your brother Raka, fool. It didn't say don't call him Resh. Like how can, so these letter names are made up by your oppressors, the Greeks and the Germans who took over your inheritance. Now you think you should pronounce it, putting apostrophes and dots all over. You're a daughter reading the Father's name with this language you're using. But you're a
You ain't
Christian
doing nothing but
apologist.
spitting.
That's all you're doing, spitting on me. Spitting on me. But these Christian apologists have these marathon shows for 4 or 5 hours, think they're running down to us. These black Israelites don't know what they're talking about. No, you don't know what you're talking about because you're under the works of Satan. Let's read this again.
And I see it too, unlearn people. This is why I was telling Zamaria, I said, when your knowledge increase, you pretty much just gonna have to hold it in many occasions, because it's just really a lot of people you won't be able to reach, but with the sources, with the proof, and then the spirit of the Most High, like what's the truth. But I've seen a lady on TikTok where, people try to bring out the language, and it's some brothers that, agree with us, and then there's the others, with the vowels. And then she had left a comment and said, can we, which he didn't prove nothing in this video, but she said, can we please get our brothers to stop speaking this pig Latin, whatever, saying that what we speak, Abagadaha, was pig Latin. I'm like, see, your ignorance level, like, it's just, I would just have to just breeze past you like you don't exist.
Can't reach them.
So it says the Mandaic name for the script is Abagada or Abaga, after the first letters of the alphabet, rather than the traditional Semitic letter names, Aleph, Beth, Gimel. They are known as Abaga, and so on. It is written from right to left in horizontal lines. It is a cursive script, but not all letters connect within a word.
So that's all we need. And the sources for here is down here. But just for the sake of time, because I want to sit down and eat like y'all, let's just drop down for the sake of time. And let's read the letters.
And not all letters connect within a word is big too.
That's not our culture. We don't make our letters connect.
Because you know how we say like Shamka? the ka don't connect to the sham, but it's just saying like your name or something like that. How you-
Right. Shamka is your name.
Yeah.
All praises. Learn.
So letters, the Mandaic alphabet contains 22 letters in the same order as the Aramaic alphabet.
So it's funny, this Mandaic language or alphabet that's from Mesopotamia, aka Babylon, has 22 characters like the Aramaic / Shemitic language / Hebrew. But we're just making things up, right? For the second time, you see the letter names here? Now, of course, there's some deviations from the original, but you see A, Ba, Ga, Da, Ha, Wa, Za, I don't know what it's trying to say here, Ta, Ya, Ka, La, Ma, Na, Sai, this supposed to be our I, Pa, Sa, Qua, Ra, Sa, Ta. We stop here with Ta for the Torah.
So that 21 should have been Shah.
Right. But you see how close they are? And this is a Mandaic language they found in southern Mesopotamia, aka Babylon, aka Ur of the Chaldees. Shamoria, can you read 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 13, I believe it is?
Oh, yeah.
1 Peter 5 and verse 13.
To the church that is at Babylon.
The church is where?
At Babylon.
Where's this church at?
Mesopotamia.
Uh-huh.
Elected together with you, saluted you.
So there was a congregation of Hebrews, of Black Hebrews, Israelites, had a congregation at Babylon. And these were Nazarites. These were righteous Nazarites who listened to Peter and all the apostles, and they turned away from the wicked Israelites, and they're still in Babylon, but they believe in Messiah. So isn't it funny that this history says that the Mandaic language comes from Mesopotamia, aka Babylon, and now Peter is writing encouragement to the congregation of Israelites at Babylon. And this language is dead on with what we're learning here. But you get on your little marathon YouTube platform to my Black Hebrew Israelites don't know what they're talking about. No, YouTube busy trying to shut us down, and you're getting exposed to be a fraud. Every week, the more these people talk, the more they prove they don't know the scriptures, the more they prove they're under the works of Satan. So keep letting them talk, and as righteous Israelites want to keep exposing these frauds. This is just the history we go through to let people know we know what we're doing here. Our Yah is returned to his people, and we are the people.
Yeah.
So, in the spirit of our Benaiah from our other family, but wait, there's more.
I like that.
So, Shamaria got a presentation, he's coming up here, and he asked me if I had anything else about the fact that our original language, the pictures, the pictographs, we call them the hieroglyphs. They don't have dots, no punctuation. We don't even have upper and lower case. That's all pagan. Those letters, you will scale those letters depending on the object you're writing on. If I'm writing on something like a wall, I want to make it bigger, I'm doing like graffiti. But if I'm writing a note to sis, I'm going to scale it down and write so all the letters fit. But upper and lower case, that's Latin. The Greeks don't even have upper and lower case. All this stuff is paganism. So Ox says, do you have anything about the gender? And this is the book, I think Zamaria still have it, right?
Yes, sir. I got it right now.
Pray you got it. Oh, praise.
I got it right now.
So this is a book, and you can go right to this website and download it for free. This website I shared with you guys many times before. This is archive.org. And I get most of my PDFs from archive.org. And if it's worthy enough, I go buy the hard copy from either Amazon or Thrift Books or abooks.com. This is a book written, well, let me just show it to you. And what I like about this site, you can Control F to search for words. Y'all see here, right? He's not a Black Hebrew Israelite, is he?
No.
He's not a Black Hebrew Israelite. right? So let me get you the full title. And you see they scanned the whole book into this website. And it's coming from Princeton Theological Seminary. This is from a seminary, y'all. This is from a seminary. Y'all respect these seminaries, right? This is from Princeton Theological Seminary. And this man is a DD, a doctor of divinity. This man's name is Charles. What is it? What you say?
A dang devil.
A devil. But this man is Charles Williams Wall, and he's a doctor of divinity. And this book has been in seminary schools. The full title of this book is Proofs of the Interpolation of the Vowel Letters. Interpolation is an old-fashioned pagan Greek word. They're trying to impress these people. I guess back in the day, the longer words you use, the more, I guess, educated you sound. So interpolation is an old word for added. You added that. So this book, this man, his whole work here, he's proven that the vowel letters was added to the text of the Hebrew Bible. This is what this whole book is about. We've had it in the Bible now for about 2 years, and anyone can borrow it when Zamaria is done with it. Take your time. But you can download this as a PDF on your phone. It's a small file. You got a flash drive. I have a digital copy as well. So this Doctor of Divinity, Charles William Wall, DD, he's Vice Provost of Trinity College in Dublin. And he wrote this back in, this is right here, Roman numerals, 1857. That's how old this book is. It was published in 1857. And Shemaiah was blessed by Abba Yah, and Shemaiah blessed us through Hamashiach, and he revealed, and even though I haven't did my own study, we went back over it and we're getting more witnesses that all those proverbs that's referring to wisdom as her and she, it's an adulteration, it's an abomination.
I was gonna ask about that.
Wisdom is not her or she. Wisdom, when you put, he's gonna bring his witnesses out whenever time. Today? Okay, all praises. Wisdom is the Messiah. Wisdom is the Messiah. So he asked me if I had any information or scholarship to point to or help us prove that gender is not a part of our culture. You read in the Bible about prophetess Huldah. We wouldn't call her prophetess Huldah because that prophetess, you put a gender on it. In our culture, we would say the prophet Huldah. And all of us know we're talking about a female because we know who Huldah is. So we wouldn't have to change the form of our word for prophet. Prophet in the Hebrew is Nabah. So if I'm talking about a woman, I'm just saying Nabah Huldah. And everyone in the community, if you don't know, who's Huldah? And so, oh, that's the daughter of so-and-so. So we don't have to change the form of a word to make it masculine or feminine. That's pagan. And this author here, this, for lack of a better word, this white author, he's not black, he's not an Israelite, he's not claiming Israel. He got in his work in 1857 that the Hebrew language has no vowels whatsoever. Y'all remember there's 2 different vowel systems they came up with. The first vowel system was called Matrice Lecciones, meaning the mother language. And they turned 5 of our letters into vowels. He's saying that's not original. And then the most modern came from the Masoretes. They started putting dots all over the place. And that's a vowel system. This book by this good doctor says the original language as these prophets, our elders wrote, they use no vowel system whatsoever. But then he goes on and says, even assigning words gender is not original. So let's go for the second. And what I like about this site here, family, I already did it. But when you go to their site and you could download these things as PDFs, or you can view it as an HTML, as a website. If you're doing it as a website, it has a search bar here. Y'all see how I just typed in gender? And it takes you right to every instance of the word gender. And right to page 16. Now, Shemaiah, I got to read this because this man, he was in love with his pen. He just used, am I lying? If you count how many words he used in a sentence, his sentence had like 50 words. Like, man, you not say all that, just get to the point. So if you're not used to reading these old writings, it's like a bunch of run-on sentences. So y'all, let's help bring this out. This is chapter 1, the pronunciation of Hebrew. Chapter 1, the pronunciation of Hebrew, and I'm gonna back it up just to get some context. The footnotes have a lot of information in it. Okay, so I'm gonna start here. This is chapter 1, and this is page 14, the interpolation of the, what's the long title of this book again?
Proofs of the interpolation of the vowel letters.
Proof of the interpolation of the vowel letters of the Hebrew text or the Hebrew Bible. This is Charles William Wall, and he published this in 1857. This is chapter 1, page 14. The subtitle is Analysis of Successive Changes. Analysis of Successive Changes. Fam, what is Deuteronomy 4 and 2?
Thou shalt not add nor take away.
Thou shalt not add or take away from my word. So when you start changing the language that the elders wrote in, you're softening up the blow. So, or changing it completely. This is all a preview to destroying Christian dogma. That's why we're going through all this. We're going to take our time. Y'all going to keep me calm. Don't let me get all Busta Rhymes on these Christians. But I don't play about my people. You got my children. My mother died in sin. My brother is going to die in sin. My children are going to die in sin. And if we can't save our grandchildren, they're going to die in sin. So I don't play about this. This is chapter 1, page 14. The Benedict monk, Martin Ney, whose edition I am making use of, observes in a note upon Jerome's reading of this passage. Jerome is the one who wrote or translated the Latin Vulgate, so they respect Jerome's work. Observes in a note upon Jerome's reading of this passage that he had found several corruptions of it in former printed editions, which he corrected from ancient manuscripts. Jerome found some errors, and he corrected it in his manuscript. The tendency of those corruptions being to approximate the words to their Masoretic pronunciation. The tendency of those corruptions being to approximate the words to their Masoretic pronunciation. So what's going on here? The Masoretes were Hebrews. That's where we get the word Masorah from. Your King James is based on the Masoretic text. And everyone else, after they make their Masoretic text, they says, well, this got to be authoritative because they wrote theirs in Hebrew. So everyone after them tried to correct their translation to fit the Masoretic text, and that's where they went wrong, and that's what he's about to show you. But no errors of a like nature can be supposed to have crept into the manuscript copies he consulted, as they were produced in times when the study of Hebrew was very little attended to in the Western Church, and when consequently the representations made in them of Hebrew groups and Roman characters were exposed only to ordinary faults of transcription. What is he saying? What is he saying? He's saying, listen, translating those who are reading the Bible in the Western Church, aka Rome, they wouldn't be able to detect the errors because they don't know Hebrew. That's how Jerome, he went off and he thought he did a good work, but as Jerome learned Hebrew, he was like, wait a minute, the Masoretic priests, they didn't get it all the way right. So Jerome went back and started correcting some of his, but of course the Masoretic text is from Hebrews. So that's supposed to be the authority because they're Hebrew. But Jerome was like, I got older copies of those Torahs, and the Masoretic priests didn't always get it right. But the Roman church wouldn't know because y'all speak Latin. You don't know Hebrew. This is what he's bringing out. So he continues on here. He says, made in them of groups of Hebrew groups and Roman characters were exposed only to ordinary faults of transcription, not affecting the vowels in particular, but leaving those letters as little liable to alterations as the consonants, right? Y'all bear with me, it's a lot to read, his sentences are long. Of one vocalic corruption, however, in our editor's exhibition of the above reading, there can scarcely be a doubt, though the proper mode of correcting it is not quite so certain. In the case of Sirach Bayadak, which Jerome construes as whatever that Latin is, the affix for the second person singular is made ACH, ak, after the plural noun, the same as after the singular one. What is he saying? He's saying there's no difference in the singular noun or the plural noun when it comes to ACH. He's saying Jerome didn't make a distinction. He's saying Jerome didn't change the form of the word in his Latin. And if Jerome didn't change the form of it in Latin, it's most likely because the Hebrews didn't change the form of it in their original language. It's going to come out. He says, although in another place, he informs us that ak, ACH, is not an affix to nouns in the plural number. Perhaps the letter I dropped out of the first of those groups of capitals in the course of successive transcriptions. We don't have the letter I in Hebrew. So that's where they get messed up. You're putting an I right here, and the I is not in Hebrew. So this writer, Charles William Walls, he's trying to see where these people went awry, where they went wrong at. He's saying perhaps the letter I dropped out of the first of those groups of capitals in the course of successive transcriptions, and that it was written by Jerome Syriac. Certainly, he has inserted a vowel for yod. This is supposed to be a vowel for our Yah. We don't have the vowel system. So he says he has inserted or interpolated a vowel for yod when used as a mater lectiones, matrice lectiones, right? So he's using Yah as a vowel, and that's not our system. He says, in every other place of its occurrence, whenever you see this letter Yah in other places.
I'm confused because you said that we don't have the letter I, correct?
Correct.
That the vowels what he meant he left.
So you changed yours to the Abadja.
The I is not a vowel.
Right.
Okay.
The I is for actual, I'm using the English letters, but our I is the picture of the I
Okay.
for
gotcha,
Abaya.
gotcha.
So he's saying this I is supposed to be a vowel, and that lets you know they're wrong. I mean, they're off because we don't have vowels. That's what he's saying. So great question. Way to keep us on track. Because I'm sure it's probably, this man is wordy, so it's hard to read his writing. All right, so certainly he has inserted or interpolated a vowel for yod when used as a mater lectiones. Mater lectiones is the singular form of matrice lectiones. So he's using this one letter, Yah, for a vowel, and that's a corruption. We don't have vowels in our Hebrew language. So he has inserted a vowel. In every other place of its occurrence with that use throughout the entire passage, and therefore it is very unlikely that he should have omitted a sign for it here. It is, however, immaterial. It doesn't matter. It is, however, immaterial to ascertain what was exactly the termination of this group. He says it's immaterial. Now we can discern what's the end of these letters, right? What's the end of this group as it came from his pen. Here we go. Y'all ready? We came all the way for this. Is it in read mode?
He can't really change this one. Yeah, he can't change it.
All right. We came all the way for this, family. It was. Is that better? Makes it worse? Okay. It was at all events different from what it now is. And from that of the group next following it, what is he saying?
So he's saying that he not only he inserted vowels like the I, but now there's something else he inserted that he's about to explain.
Con. Not only is they're inserting vowels, but they're changing everything about the original language, the sacred tongue. And the Bible says Lashawan or Lashan Kadash, the sacred tongue of the Hebrews. If the imitation I have suggested be the correct one, the imitation means the addition, the assertion. If this change that I'm suggesting is correct, if the imitation I have suggested be the correct one, then the pronunciation of the affix of the second person singular was, in his time, the same for the masculine as it still is for the feminine gender after plural nouns. Did y'all catch that?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard, I know it's a lot to process. He's saying, if I'm right about the changes I'm catching them in, and if I'm right about this, the pronunciation of the affix of the second person singular in his time is the same for the masculine, and it's still the same for the feminine gender after plural nouns. And at any rate, was very nearly so after singular nouns, whence it would appear that the distinction of gender at present applied to this case is what?
Modern.
Of modern origin. I took y'all all here because I'm not trying to indoctrinate. I'm not trying to twist resources like other people do. I let you see this whole resource. You can borrow the hard copy or you can download this. This Doctor of Divinities brought out two things. A, we don't have no vowel system whatsoever, whether you turn these letters into vowels or you put some dots and hyphens in words, it's all adulteration. And then B, we don't assign gender to our language. That's pagan. So if I'm going to speak about a prophet, I would say Nabah. Nabah Shemaryah, Nabah Gina. They are prophets. Any questions or comments about that? Let's continue on here. I'm gonna read this again. If the imitation I have suggested be the correct one, then the pronunciation of the affix of the second person singular was, in his time, the same for the masculine as it still is for the feminine gender after plural nouns, and at any rate was very nearly so after singular nouns, whence it would appear that the distinction of gender at present applied to this case is of modern origin, a conclusion which is not only completely accordant with the unpointed text. The unpointed text is that right there. So he's saying that's agreeing with the unpointed text. The unpointed text, these pictures have no gender. These pictures, these hieroglyphs have no gender. He continues on here, says, wherein no such distinction appears, but also is in part supported by even the Masoretic system, which attaches a common vocalization for both genders. Even the Masoretic text, they didn't distinguish between the genders. So where y'all getting this from? That wisdom is effeminate. Wisdom is she and her. No, wisdom is from the Most High. The Most High is always masculine. And now Shemaryah is going to bring out wisdom is Hamashiach. Wisdom is Hamashiach. Any questions, comments about that?
comment is that
I appreciate you for bringing this information out because it's right exactly. And it's like the presentation has already started. And I didn't take as much time since I was building the lesson to find this information, but that's why, like you always say, we need all hands on deck. Because now we knew from study and the Spirit revealing, but also to have proof through outside sources about the genders being added. It just makes the word complete. So I appreciate it.
I want to share this again. For you could go back and screenshot this when you see it on Facebook or YouTube. This is the whole sentence right here. If the imitation I have suggested, it starts there, and he continues on, whence it would appear that the distinction of gender at present applied to this case is of modern origin. And then he continues on, says, but also it is in part supported by even the Masoretic system, which attaches a common vocalization for both genders. Can you see that? There's no distinction of gender in Hebrew. But like I was telling you earlier, I've been passing through all these posts over the years from people thinking they're teaching and breaking things down. Because to me, it's small potatoes. Let's get you back into the covenant, to the law, and then we can learn these secondary issues. But like he said, if you want to chase down all these debates, you'll be forever. Because these people don't have the resources that you have. They don't even ask you where you getting it from. They just stand on their platform and say, that ain't right. Nuh-uh. Where you get that from? Well, where you get your position from? We have witnesses and resources what we teach here, family. There's no vowels in Hebrew, and there's no gender in Hebrew. This is the interpolation of the vowels into the Hebrew text by William Wall, published in 1857. Any questions or comments before we bring Ak up? And with